what I was going to do is just share some, a little bit of my background of my church, West Swamp Mennonite. I am more of a recent convert to the Mennonite Church. I would not be an ethnic Mennonite. My family is made up of Irish Catholics and Methodists, and I grew up basically in a UCC church most of the time. So I had a varied experience and kind of confusing for a while as well. Served as a UCC pastor for 6 years after that, and sort of converted to Anabaptism or to becoming a Mennonite while I was in college. That was probably where I started, even though I went back into the United Church of Christ after that. That was sort of what sort of turned me, I guess, theologically and as far as practice, and then about 6 years later, actually converted over to the Mennonites and have been there ever since. One of the things that I've noticed since then, and I guess a benefit of having the exposure to a lot of various traditions, has been that we all struggle with a lot of the same stuff, and I think that's one of the benefits of an event like of what's been happening with Designed in Mission. I've enjoyed watching some of the videos, and I applaud Wes for putting this together. That's all I'll say, because I don't want his head to get too big. But we're kind of all familiar, and if we're here, we're interested in connecting the idea of mission and or church structure and mission, and that's kind of what we're attempting to begin conversations at West Swamp about right now. When we think of mission and church, there's a lot of scriptures we could go to. One that I've been falling back to a lot recently in our context at West Swamp is from Acts 1:8. Basically Jesus saying, but you will receive power when the Holy Spirit comes on you, and you'll be my witnesses in Jerusalem and Judea and Samaria and to the ends of the earth. And there's a couple things I like about this, that passage, and one that it's all about pointing out. It's an outward message. We're not staying put. We're not doing the same things. We're not keeping to ourselves. We're going somewhere. It's a commission. So I like that. I also like that it's plural. That it's not just about individuals. It's for a community to live in such a way that we're witnesses to the mission of God, and that's really where I've been trying to think about a lot and having some conversations. Just not a lot of that happens conference level. We have these kind of conversations, but even in our congregation, we're getting to this point. Unfortunately, we're very good in our culture at being individuals, and that's probably what I've learned in experience so far in pastoral ministry, is that's one of the biggest enemies to church and mission, is just how individual we are. So for me, a text like this and these conversations are helping us to recover a sense of mission as a community, if we can do that together. I guess to give a picture of kind of where we're at, what it's been like to be a Mennonite church member and pastor in southeast Pennsylvania. My church is West Swamp Mennonite Church. It's in Quakertown. It's about an hour north of here. It's an interesting name for a church, but we're not unique. There's 3 other churches in the area that have swamp in their name. And I usually talk about this because somebody always will bring it up. What does the name come from? And it's basically, I guess at one point, I wasn't always, I grew up in the Philadelphia area, so I wasn't real familiar with northern Bucks County, but apparently at one point there was a huge area of swampland. I think they call it the Great Swamp, and a lot of the churches adopted their name from this. It's some of it's still around, even though there's been tons of development up in that area, and it's continuing. But some of the churches actually took that as their name, and when I talk to people outside the Mennonite Church who aren't familiar with West Swamp, it eventually comes around to quoting Monty Python and the Holy Grail at some point, with building in a swamp. But our church has been around since 1717. And over a long history, really has been a place of, at different points in time, a place of new ideas and innovation in Mennonite practice. There once were, at least in this country, two larger Mennonite groups. We merged together earlier this decade into one denomination, and also one in Canada. The churches that I served were part of the General Conference Mennonite Church, one of the two groups. And the General Conference, I would say, and you guys would know more about this than I would, but was probably the more progressive of the two, at least initially. And some of the reasons they initially broke away were over, as I understand, and this is back in the 19th century, but over the ideas of connecting mission and practice, debating organizational structure and church structure.